Hi, my name's Fred. I drink beer. Welcome to another episode of Beers from the Basement. Today I'm starting off, I don't really have a theme for today, so just like whatever came to mind. I'm starting off with Unibroue Edition 2005. So this was basically their 2005 anniversary beer. Ale on lees, 10% alcohol by volume, Unibroue Chambly, Quebec, and it says on the bottle, though it's edition 2005, it says production date 11/23/2004. Product of Canada. So, we'll see how this one seems similar to their the terrible we had a while ago, at least on paper, in terms of strength and color. I believe this is dark. It looks dark. Instead of the U on the cap at Unibroue, they have a 2005, and the cork says Unibroue, and we'll see whether this. I've had problems with the Unibroue corks in the past, and this one is no different. Let's see if I can. Oh, well, broke the cork. So, great technical difficulty. So, well, let me find a corkscrew and I'll be back. Managed to get the cork out. Doesn't really say anything. There's a batch number, or assume batch number for the cork, and it says Unibroue, and I got it out without managing not to get any cork in the beer, hopefully. So let's see how this one looks. It did. There was a nice pop when I pulled out the cork, and this looks to be fairly carbonated, which I guess kind of makes sense since the cork was stuck. It didn't dry out like some of the other Unibroues I've had. So let's give it a sniff. You get a little bit of esters, banana, slight banana, and the spiciness, which is probably from the yeast. I don't think this. Usually they would say, beer with ale with spices. I kind of like it. It's we'll see if I like it by the time I get the end of the 750. But first impression was good. It's oxidized, but not too badly. Lots of dark fruit notes. I say there was a little bit of stuff in the nose that I thought was from the yeast, but there's not much yeast character left in the beer. It's probably was another one that would have been better if I drank it a little sooner. I still have a good portion of a case of this, a case of 12 bottles, so there's probably at least 7 or 8 left. So you'll probably be seeing this one frequently with some of the others. It is better, at least first impression. I think this is the second Unibroue I've done on the video. Third one overall. I first did the Unibroue 10, which was their 10th anniversary, and I think that was before I actually was taking video, so just pictures of that. and that one was not not all that. It was past its prime. The cork was very dry and very thin. I do have a couple bottles of the Unibroue 11, which is their 11th anniversary, and I don't think I've had one of those for a while. And then I did the Terrible, the Terrible, and that one I liked at the beginning, but I ended up only drinking a little more than half of the bottle. So we'll see how it goes on this one. I also have the edition 2015, so that was 10 years after this one, and at some point I'll probably do a side-by-side of the two. Luckily I have two Unibroue glasses. So I'm gonna let this one warm up, take a couple pictures, and we'll see how I think after it's warmed up a bit. Well, I'm back with my Unibroue Edition 2015, brewed in late, edition 2005, brewed in late 2004. I'm just about done with it. As seems to be true with the Unibroue beers, the older ones. I like it a little bit. I like it less as I go on. I will probably finish this one. And move on to the next. There's maybe a third left in the bottle, a little less than a third. It's there's something in the finish that's building up, and I probably need some salty snacks to clear my palate. I have to do that next time. It's I can't really tell what it is. It's just there's almost a coating on the tongue, and it's like I don't, once the sign of a really good beer is once you have a sip, you want to have another sip. And with this one, is once I have a sip, it's like maybe I'll have another sip in a minute. It's like I don't want that next sip right away. So we'll see. Say it's held up its carbonation pretty well, and there's a little bit of lace on the glass. So I would put this one as a medium. It's not a failure, but it's not real successful. As far as Unibroue stories, I don't really have the one I had. I think I told in the last video about the former head brewer Paul Arnott, who was from Scotland, trained at Heriot-Watt University, brewed for Chimay for a number of years, and then was head brewer at Unibroue for about 10 years during this time. Roughly 2000, 2010. And I forgot he's now moved on, and I think I said in the other video where he is. I don't remember. He's back in, I think he's back in Belgium. Maybe he's at Dubuisson, the people at Dubush, if I'm remembering correctly, and that's maybe why there's a lot more kind of interesting, different beers coming out of Bush these days. Okay, well, I'm going to I'm going to finish this one a little bit, and then move on to the next beer, which is one I've had before from this batch, but I didn't do it on video, so I'm going to do it on video so you guys can all enjoy it. So we'll be back in a minute. I'm back, and I have a Rochefort 10, which has a Best By date of February 2009, and they have a 5-year Best By date, so that means this was February 2004. So it's a little bit older than the Unibroue that we just had. Brewed at, the trivia question, if anyone asks you, it's the Abbey D, and again, excuse my French, Saint Remy. That's the name of the abbey. It's in the village of Rochefort. Beer, number 10, 11.3% alcohol. Has a little Trappist Trappist logo on it. Nothing on the back. Brewed with water, malt, unmalted grain, hop, yeast, and sugar. So that's interesting, the unmalted grain. I'd forgotten that. It's which I seem to remember there was a little bit of wheat in this, but I'm maybe not remembering that correctly. So, and the cap has beer des Trappistes, Rochefort, beer des Trappistes, Rochefort, and 10. And they do a 10, an 8, and a 6. The 10 is the famous one. The 8 is a nice beer. It doesn't get as much attention maybe as it should. So, a little bit of a hiss. And we'll see how she pours. Nice color. It's maybe a little murky. Hopefully I might have disturbed the bottle a little bit opening it. It's got carbonation. Not a lot, but a little bit. Not much at all, but a little bit. It smells like Rochefort. It smells like old Rochefort. There's a little bit of, there's oxidation in there for sure. Huh, interesting. Like I say, I had this one, in fact, it was maybe one of the first beers of the basement that I tweeted, but I didn't do the video, and I enjoyed it, I think a bit more than this one's okay. There's a little bit of, and I can't tell what it is, there's a little bit of something in the nose that's not 100% to my liking. Well, it is some little disappointing, but I say I may have, it looks a little murkier than I remembered, and I may have, the bottle conditioned, and I may have disturbed the yeast as I was bringing it up from the basement. But it's not real cloudy, just a little bit, not cloudy, murky. I can see there's maybe a little bit of floaties in the bottom, so that's my fault for the pour. I'm using my old Rochefort glass. I don't know how old this is. Last time when I did the non-video one, I used the newer style, which is gold and is more of a, more like a champagne glass, I guess. Very flat bowl, not the deep goblet. I don't know the proper term for it. But. So, well, this one's about the right temperature. It's, I took it out long before the video. I mean, it's cool. So there's not much to warm up, but I'll let it sit for a bit, and we'll see what I think after a few minutes once I get a picture. And so I'll be back in a minute. Okay. I'm back with my Rochefort 10 from 2004, and in the break I went and had a little bread and cleared my palate, and I'm liking it a bit more, so I think I had a little bit of residual taste from the Unibroue that was affecting things. So that's, it's important to make sure you have a clean palate when you're tasting beer. So now that that it is obviously oxidized, but I'm getting and enjoying that Rochefort flavor, and So no problem finishing this one. I have this is from a batch that a friend of mine ordered, and I guess it was 2004. Had done a big order from one of these mail order Belgian bottle shops. I think it was Belgian shop, but I don't remember which one. And he was doing an order, and the shipping was such that once you got to you get up to a certain level, the shipping was a lot less. So he said, hey, I'm getting an order together. What do you guys want? And he was ordering some Rochefort, and I said, well, that sounds good. And I don't remember how many I got, 12 maybe, half a case. I don't think I got a case worth. So that would have been, I would guess, 2004. I'd have to check with him to find out. Check with my friend. Now this bottle and the one I had back in January were still in the bubble wrap. So I hadn't even unbubble wrapped them from the shipping. So that's really a time capsule. As far as Rochefort stories, I have one. This was I think 2003, so before this beer. I was sitting at the bar in the Culminator in Antwerp, as one does, and this was back in the day when you could actually sit at the bar. And there was a guy sitting next to me, or he actually came in after I was there, and was obviously American. And if you've been to the Culminator, their beer menu is a book about this thick, and it's not. There's very little fluff in it. I mean, I've been to places that have a really thick beer menu, and it's like there's one page per beer, and they have an ad, pictures of whatever. This is very many pages of essentially tables of beers. I mean, they're organized by category, and it's like every vintage they have. And so it's a bit daunting if you don't know what to do. And I don't remember. I think he probably had a draft beer to start, because they have 11 taps or so, and there's always good stuff on draft. And he's like, obviously this menu, he's in a feedback loop. He just can't, he's like, I don't know what to do. So I started talking to him, and it turns out he worked for ABC News. He was a producer, which really means a reporter, but not one that goes in front of the camera. Usually it's the person, a lot of times it's the person that actually does the work, but I don't know if that's the case here. And he was in Antwerp to do a follow-up on one of the giant diamond robberies they'd had, I don't remember, a year or two or so before. And he was, and I don't know if it was his hotel or his taxi driver, cab driver. He said, I wanted to go someplace with some good beer, and they sent him to the Culminator. But he wasn't really prepared for this. So I said, well, I'll make you a deal. I says, I'll pick beers for you. You kind of give me some guidelines, and I can choose stuff. Well, he's from New York, so he kind of looks at me skeptically, like, what kind of scam is this? And I said, no, any beer I pick, if you don't like it, I'll drink it. So I'm obviously going to pick beers I like. And I don't remember what I picked. There were like 3 or 4. And then the 4th or 5th one was Rochefort 10. And he got it, and he goes, I don't like this. I'm going to take you up on your offer. Now, to me, I thought that was a little bit, I picked, I think, 4 beers for him, and this was the 5th one. It was like, okay, I'm not getting paid for this. You should eat the 5th one. But I said I would buy it. I would take it, so I told Lean, put that on my tab. And I go to taste it, and I hated it too. It was like, I don't like that. And so I looked at the bottle, and there's a Best By date, and I knew that they had a 5-year Best By date, because I think that year was the year I'd visited the brewery, the monastery. And so this beer was like a month old. And it was just way too fresh. It was too harsh and nasty. And one of the things I remembered from touring the brewery is they don't actually age the beer there at all. They have some time before, say this was 2003, and I want to say in the 5 years before then, they'd switched to cylindroconical fermenters. So they had these big stainless steel conical, cylindrical fermenters with a cone at the bottom. And they fermented the beer there for however long. I don't remember. They would drain the yeast, and then after, not a long time, I mean, we're talking weeks, they would bottle it. And of course it was bottle conditioned, so it was expected the beer would age in the bottle as it, as it traversed through the distribution system. Which is one case being in the States may have been an advantage, because by the time we got the beer, it was old enough that it was drinkable. So there is such a thing, and I've heard this before, and you'll hear me say this again, with some beers it can be too fresh. Where really the beer is designed to continue to finish in the bottle. In a sense, that's not a lot different from the British cask beer. I mean, when a cask beer leaves the brewery, it's not done yet. You don't want to drink it then. It continues to ferment, and it finishes its fermentation at the pub, in the cellar of the pub, ideally. And so this finishes finishes its fermentation in your cellar, or at the beer shop or whatever. And Orval does that as well, because I remember one of the things I remember from my visit to Orval is they had beer that they shipped right away, and then they also put cases away, and they would age them, in a warehouse at the brewery for 6 months, and then they would ship them. So they were, really fresh, and then somewhat conditioned. So anyway, enough talk. I'm not enjoying my Rochefort. So if someone should give you a bottle of Rochefort 10, check the best by date, and if it was so fresh it was, it's like a month old, then go ahead and accept the gift, but put it aside. Don't drink it right away. And well, I think I'm kind of uncertain. I've got one more beer, and I think I'll go ahead and open it. It's kind of off topic. It doesn't sit with the other ones, but it was sitting there, and I said, well, might as well drink one. So I'll be back in a bit with a special bonus content, I guess they would say. So it's a nice day, and I'm having fun sitting on my patio drinking beer. So I thought I'd try one more. So I have just happen to have handy a 2013 old stock. Now you may remember a few videos back, I had a 2006 old stock, and was surprised to see that it was over 13%, 13.2 or something. And by 2013, it was down 11.9, which is kind of more where I remembered it being. So this is signed by the brewmaster, of course, North Coast Brewing in Fort Bragg, California. Nothing really special on the label. They do have a little, like a lot do, and you maybe can't see it. It's saying, don't put it into a pint glass, put it into a chalice. Well, I'm going to sort of break that rule, because the only North Coast glass I have is an old Rasputin, and it's kind of a pint glass shape. I have a lot of chalices, but I actually don't have any that are brand it, so it sort of offends me to put a to put a North Coast beer into a Chimay glass. That just seems wrong. I'll do it in private, but I won't do it for the world to see. So I'm taking the next best thing, which is an Old Rasputin. So we'll see. Let's see whether we. Yeah, it's a nice hiss. And let's see what we get. I can see some carbonation. Oh, it's very carbonated, so I have to. Been doing a rough pour to get some carbonation, but I don't need to do that with this one. This has got a nice, beautiful color. Kind of a very dark gold, really. I mean, it's not. There's maybe a little bit of red in there. And oh, that smells nice. It's like malt up the wazoo, which is what I'd expect. Okay, this is in nice shape. Of course, it's not really fair. The other beers were 2004 and this is 2013, so it's 9 years later, so would expect it to be in better shape. This is real nice. There's some oxidation. I mean, there's some, but very much sherry, just nice sherry notes. And there's a lot of malt, which is the way I remember this beer. And I don't think I think I only have only bought a couple of 6-packs of this, because by the time I got it, I think there were no cases left. So I think I have, I have maybe 8 bottles left. I'm not sure, but not as much as I have of some of the older ones. So one of these future shows, I'll do a bunch of different vintages of old stock, and then you'll have to roll me off, because drinking 12 ounces of 12 to 13% beer is a big chore. It's like, I just thank the Flying Spaghetti Monster that they're not 750s, because it's good enough I would have to drink it. So obviously I'm rambling on here more than usual. I'm going to take a pause here and enjoy some of this, and be back with some closing thoughts. Okay. Finishing up with my old stock from 2013 in an Old Rasputin glass. Same brewery, different beer. I'm really enjoying this. It's not quite fair to the other ones, because it's 9 years younger. So it's still a little bit, I'm going to say more fresh. This may be the peak of the old stock. I'm going to have to maybe drink the other ones, not save them so long. I don't know that I have any old stock stories to tell you other than what I did on the last video. I used to bring this beer to Belgium, traveling a lot, mostly to Belgium, because Dirk at the Culminator doesn't really like bitter beers, especially not really hoppy beers. He likes them sweeter. In fact, his favorite beer that they have the reason they have it on tap all the time is Bush Noel, which is very sweet. And the anniversary beers that he's had brewed for him by Mikkeller have also been very sweet. Looking forward to trying the 50th anniversary soon. So I would bring him bottles of old stock, because this is the kind of beer he liked. It's it's not sweet. There's hops to back it, but it's not one that the hops that are not going to overpower you. What comes through is malty sweetness, and he liked those. He liked this beer. So it was sort of to say, yeah, we can, in California we brew lots of really good hoppy beers, but we also brew, and I say we, I had nothing to do with this. We also brew some nice, good malty beers. My favorite, since, been drinking high alcohol beers and I'm rambling, a story not related to any of these beers, but was the first time someone had expressed sort of location envy to me. In all my travels, I've said to people like who live in Bamberg, oh, you're so lucky you have all these beers, if I lived in Belgium, I could. In Belgium, Trappist beers are cheaper than Coca-Cola in the supermarket. Or if I lived in Prague, I would, drink Czech lagers. I'm so jealous you get to drink these Czech lagers every day. So I was in, it was my first visit to Copenhagen, and I was in one of my favorite bars there, the Ulbaren. And I was sitting at the bar having a beer, I don't remember what, and a young lady, it was kind of, the bar was crowded, so, people would kind of get between you to order a beer, which is fine. And she ordered, and the bartender is a longtime beer friend of mine, the bartender at the time, and she wanted it was a Green Flash West Coast IPA, which they had in the bottle. And, being the friendly sort I am, I said, oh, that's almost my local brewery. Not quite. It's 60 miles away or 70 miles away from where I live. But, that's local when you're in Copenhagen. And she just looked at me and said, oh, I wish I lived in California so I could drink IPAs all day long. So that's the first time that anyone ever expressed jealousy that I lived in California in terms of beer. We get that in weather all the time. But in beer, it was the first time someone said, oh, you're so lucky in California, you get all these great IPAs. And we are blessed, and we have high standards, and that's why I basically don't much drink IPAs when I travel, because almost always, and not 100%, but it's like, we probably have better versions back home, but we don't have better versions of whatever it is you're brewing locally. Anyway, I'm rambling on. I'll probably cut this out. Who knows? But anyway, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode. Be sure and hit the like button and hit the subscribe button. I've been stuck at 25 subscribers for a couple of weeks now, so tell your friends, tell your relatives, tell your parents, tell your enemies, if they might be bored by it. See if I can get my subscriber count up to, like 30, and then I'll die a happy man. So thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. And in the meantime, good beers to you.